Hello, everyone. This is Women in Ethereum Protocol Study Group, and we are already in the middle of Cohort's week 6. And today our office hours, and we have a special guest, Pooja Ranjan from Ethereum Cat Herders. Welcome, Pooja.
Thank you, Katya. It feels like being a guest at my own house, but thank you so much for the invite and facilitating these meetings for us.
Yeah, exactly. Pooja is always with us. She supports our calls a lot, and today she will be our speaker. Before we start, Pooja, could you please tell us about your way to the protocol? How did you start?
Thank you, Katya, for providing this a stage to maybe talk to my own fellow girls here about my journey. I think I started back in 2017 with the launch of a blogging website called etherworld.co. This website is basically to share information about Ethereum in terms of news, project updates, and technical updates that we generally publish with that. In 2019, people were looking to support Ethereum protocol development. They were looking for some projects manager to help out and make this project as a proper project and do some other stuff that can help run the protocol smoothly. So I joined Ethereum Cat Herders. It was a working group at the time. And my main job there was to document all core dev notes. I also helped facilitate network upgrades in 2019 and since then. A few years down the line, in 2024 July, we registered Ethereum Cat Herders as a nonprofit entity in the United States. Now this is named as ECH Institute. So that's how my journey with Ethereum protocol started. However, in midway, I continued meeting people and I met Ladana in 2023. Yeah, that was our first meeting there during an event. We talked about how we can onboard more women, how we can make sure that women are feeling comfortable joining this space. So that was the beginning of WiEP. We made the launch announcement in February 2024. It's been over a year, and I'm so happy that this study group cohort is working well. We are proud to share that we have graduated many women, and some of them are now contributing to Ethereum ecosystem, trying to contribute to Ethereum protocol.
Yeah, for those of you who doesn't know yet, Pooja is one of the co-founders of Women in Ethereum Protocol. So thank you, Pooja, for organizing all this community, wonderful community of women. And what about ETH Herders? I really love this team, and they do a lot for the protocol. They support ACD calls and other calls, and they provide some more deep technical information about the protocol. Could you tell a little bit about your team, what you normally do?
Of course. So Ethereum Cat Herders are mainly around protocol support, Ethereum protocol support. We are engaged with facilitating protocol meetings. I can see Akash joining in here. So he shares meeting recording in form of podcast. Cat Herders also document notes. Mercy is here. Mercy helps us document notes for certain meetings. So anything related to core dev conversation or protocol meetings, we provide an all kind of support. Apart from that, we facilitate different office hours meeting around EIPs. We communicate with the EIPs infra and tooling providers. Try to educate community with different podcasts that we run, Beep and Eep and Ecosystem Project Demo podcast. We obviously work a lot around WIEP present cohort, and we also encourage participants to contribute to Ethereum repository, especially because we are so closely working with EIP. So I love to get some support on EIP bot and any related EIPs. But yeah, mostly we are into facilitation and support with respect to Ethereum improvement proposal and community building in general.
Yeah, I really recommend you ladies to join the calls of Ethereum Cat Herders. Pooja, our participants can find the links to the calls. You have a Peep and Eep calls, right?
That's right. So I think we will share some link with the presentation I'm going to have right after this. But in general, if you can jump on to Cat Herders Discord, you will find the meeting links for all the meetings that happens around. We generally maintain an calendar on event section of Discord where you can be informed. And obviously, social media is a very good place to follow what's going on.
Well, Pooja, thanks for EIP Cat Herders. Yeah, really appreciate it. And I think we can start. The floor is yours. Today we're going to talk about EIPs, right?
That's correct. So just imagine a world where anyone can propose change to one of the largest blockchain in existence. And if the idea is strong enough, that can be included to reshape the entire ecosystem. That's exactly how Ethereum evolves. The process is known as Ethereum Improvement Proposal Process. We are going to talk a lot about that, but I want to start this day with sharing this slide. This is a slide from my DEF CON talk, and it is to provide a high-level overview of how we see EIPs today, some fun facts around that. So as you can see, there are some charts sharing some important details. Let me help you understand these. Every day, we receive some proposal. The right-hand side chart suggests the number of proposals those are received every year. As you can see, this is from 2024, so we don't have the data for 2025 included in this particular slide. We'll get there as well. But just taking an example of 2024, we have received over 150, 160 proposals, right? And out of those, close to 100 proposals were ERCs. 58 were core, and there were some other types and categories, networking interface, meta informational, and RIPs. We will talk all about it. But I wanted to highlight this just to point you towards the number of proposals being received on different repositories every year, every month, every week. And there's a lot of work going on in the background, and we would appreciate your help in facilitating this and supporting us make good standards for Ethereum ecosystem. More or less, only 25% proposals makes it to the final status. Most of them are either in any other different status or maybe turned out to stagnant, meaning they may not be moving, the author is not around, or they may not be very good proposals. So far, Ethereum has deployed 64 core EIPs on network upgrade. That means the present Ethereum that you are seeing has been developed by these 64 proposals, which helps run the chain, both on execution and consensus side. The upgrades that included highest number of EIPs were Byzantium and Dencon upgrade, and the number was 9. But you would be surprised to know that they are going to break their own record with the Petra upgrade. This time it's going to be 11 EIPs to be considered for the upgrade. So what is an EIP? In simple terms, it can be considered as maybe a formal process through which changes, whether they are technical, upgrade related, new standard, process improvement, or any application related proposals are considered, and they are added to the ecosystem once they are adopted, implemented. So we will talk about these, and I feel like this is very important to have this process in place, because with this we'll be in a position to maintain the consistency. We will standardize the process, so any new project who wants to maybe pick up a proposal and deploy a project on top of that, or have some use cases of that, may be able to work in that. It provides a space of, like, open collaboration, and obviously everything is transparent because Ethereum is a big ecosystem with open source code. Taking a step back, how it all started. So it was mentioned in EIP1 that EIP1 was heavily inspired by BIP1. BIP1 is basically Bitcoin Improvement Proposal. And this BIP was inspired by Python enhancement proposal. So that's where we started. But as on date, there are so many blockchains which are trying to follow the process which Ethereum is following. I was in a conversation with the Bitcoin community the other day, and they were happily surprised to see how much evolved we have been here after following just initial process of BIPs. They even don't have that number of proposals. There are very less contributor providing suggestions and making contribution in there. So now they are also inclined towards learning some lessons, what Ethereum community did, and maybe upgrade their process in order to get more people involved, because blockchain is all about decentralization and providing opportunities. So the first commit to Ethereum/EIP's repository was made in 2015, right after the launch of Ethereum blockchain. That was done by Martin, who is considered to be the early days contributor, maybe the first EIP editor. However, the EIP-1 was documented in 2017, mostly by Hudson Jameson. I think it was an enhanced work on top of whatever Martin did. But yeah, he has been a great contributor to update EIP-1 and help us with the process. I'm happy to share Hudson Jameson was also one of the founders of Ethereum Cat Herders, and we started together the EIP-IP process, about which we will be talking later. This is an image, again, back from my DEF CON talk, but I wanted to have this image right here to provide you a picture of how we are today. If anyone is following core dev calls, they may see that there are so many developers joining both client side like consensus layer and execution layer, and they are talking about, I have this proposal, I want to get it included. I have this proposal, I want to get it included. But how? How we can include all of those proposals? There are so many brilliant minds around us, and they have so many good proposals. So it will be difficult for us to have all those proposals in one upgrade. And that's why we have started a cadence of getting network upgrade. Even if Spectra is not deployed on the network today, if people have watched, they may find that from today's discussion itself, like people are working for DevNet for Fusaka. Fusaka is going to be the next network upgrade, but the incoming EIPs are funnelized. Like now they are working for the DevNet. That means they are not accepting any more proposals. So there is so much of work going on in parallel. You can see again EIPs, core, ERCs, and life cycle. We will talk all about it, but I think this is a great inspiration to suggest that our community is so vibrant and we are full of brilliant minds around here. All right, so what do we do with these EIPs? So one common example that most of the people know is like these EIPs are part of network upgrade. Thanks for the image. This is created by Akash from Ethereum Cat Herders. This basically depicts the network upgrade that has occurred on Ethereum's both layer. If you can see, like starting from execution layer, we were joined by consensus layer, and we had been deploying multiple upgrades over the period of time. Now, what is there? Glamsterdam. Oh, cool. We have also included the Glamsterdam here. We don't have any idea when it is going to be happening, but if you take a look, the upgrades are planned so much in advance. So in all of these upgrades, the EIPs, those are deployed, are called as core EIPs. There are different categories as well, but generally for any upgrade, we accept a proposal which is into core category. So core category is like fundamental changes to Ethereum protocol, like anything related to Ethereum consensus. This is like early idea of how Ethereum proposals were divided into type and categories. So core, as I mentioned, was mostly for the upgrade side. There is meta. Meta means which is kind of fundamental, and everyone in the ecosystem are supposed to follow that. We can't ignore that. So there are very few meta EIPs, and these EIPs are general guideline. EIP-1 is also a meta EIP, which is the guideline of how EIPs are documented and the processes are being followed. Next come interface. So for interface, you can understand it as like it is the proposals. Those are suggesting changes for user-facing functionalities and APIs. Next come networking. Networking is for node-to-node communication for client's team. And ERCs basically are application layer proposals. So ERC-20, the most popular proposal that helped come up with the boom of all sort of like meme coin as well, ERC-20 tokens and DeFi. I mean, ERC-20 is considered to be one of the fundamental proposals that helped run so many protocols. So let's talk a little bit about the GitHub repository. In earlier days, there was only one GitHub repository. It was called as github.com/Ethereum, in which we had EIPs repo, where we had all sort of proposals. But back in 2023, people decided to fork the repo and have EIPs and ERCs separated. The reason for this separation was mostly that they wanted to focus on protocol side. The client team wanted to focus on protocol proposals, and they don't want to discuss at the same time the application layer. Moreover, our community was growing, so it was a good idea to have this separation in place, so people can form different working group and they can have their different meeting places and they can discuss the proposal as needed. The reasoning, the specs, and the changes are documented in the meta EIP, as I mentioned earlier. This meta EIP is numbered as 7329, documented by Light Klein and Dano Farine. Light Klein is one of the EIP editors as well, and he has actively worked on helping out the separation of these repos. As you can see here, this first layer is called as like type. So we have three different type: meta, standard track, and informational. And standard track has further categories: core, networking, and interface. In ERC, the standard tracks has ERC and interface because some of the interface proposals are related to wallet, maybe to the application. So we do have this category of interface on ERC side as well. Moving ahead, as the ecosystem grew, we shifted our focus for layer 2 projects as well, because layer 1 was built to provide the basic infrastructure and we were hoping to have more projects grow on top of that. So there comes the layer 2 or roll-up proposals. So roll-up proposals are proposals which are suggested as a standard for all sort of layer 2 projects in the ecosystem. There is nothing mandatory as far as I know, but they do follow the kind of the same or similar type and categories. So we do have some core proposals. Some of the core proposals of layer 2 can be considered to be deployed on the Ethereum mainnet, maybe a different version or have a different pointers, but core proposals are generally added here, keeping in mind that it may be deployed on Ethereum mainnet at one point of time. RRC, rollup request for comment, is very similar to ERCs. That means the applications which are built on top of rollup proposals should be categorized at RRC. And there are others still to be defined. This is very new repo and people are still working on it. However, the best part here is like they have documented how they want to evolve this repository or this set of information with rollup improvement proposals in a meta EIP. The meta EIP number is 7810. This is very similar to EIP1, and you would find all the instructions and guidelines of creating, documenting, reviewing, and maybe implementing guidelines for certain proposals right over here. So this is how our current Ethereum proposals GitHub repository look like. This is basically the standards that we are looking at. So we have three different GitHub repositories. Depending upon your area of interest, you can go and follow the repositories and try to either add or help us manage it even better. If you take a look, this line is all about type. So we have meta, standard tracks, informational, that is consistent throughout the repositories. And we have core networking interface on EIP side. On ERC, the change here is ERC. And here we have rollup request for comment as a new category. Let's take a moment and talk about the process that we follow. So if we have to say that how do we go, if we have to structure that, we can say that this process involves mainly 4 stages. The first one is called as like drafting. We draft the proposal, then we discuss it. Third one could be collecting reviews and having some consensus around it. And the fourth and the final one would be the implementation and adoption. So these can be the 4 stages, but during these stages, an EIP has to go through these statuses. So the draft is the very first one when you are proposing your proposal. You document it, and we will talk about how can you even propose a proposal. So we document this proposal, add it to a GitHub repository, and once that is merged, we will find the proposal as draft proposal. Next comes review. So any proposal can be like basic, just basic information added over there, specs added over the motivation, and then we have this proposal added to the website, the official website. Then this proposal undergoes review of editor, review of community, review of client developers. So there are so many participants of the EIP process. We will talk about them in detail, but on a high level, these are the three main group of people who would be interested in providing reviews. After review, if proposal initiator, the author or the champion thinks that the proposal is in good shape and it can go to the final status, the proposal is moved to the last call. The last call duration is fixed for 14 days for all other proposals except the core proposals. So if a proposal is an ERC, that will be staying here in the last call status for 14 days. And during this 14 days, if any specs related changes are suggested by the community, the author may or may not consider. But generally, it is recommended that if there is significant change request, please do consider and move it back to the review and try to bring it back in last call when they find that spec is stabilized. Once this 14 days duration is passed, the proposal can be moved to the final status, and that's where it will be called as a standard to be used. You may see a few different statuses as well. So stagnant status is a bucket, like you can say that we have considered it as a bucket where proposals are pushed by a bot. We do have a EIP bot which add this stagnant status if the proposal is not moving for 6 months or more. However, these proposals are not generally dead. Anybody can revive these proposals by bringing it up back to the status from where it was moved to stagnant and pursue it with the normal process of the life cycle of any EIP. Next comes withdrawn. So withdrawn is a category from where proposal can never be revived, at least not with the same number. Even if a user want to revive a proposal, which is exactly the same, which was in the withdrawn category, he may have to go back to the draft status and begin it from there by saying that we need a new number, we need to follow the process, because withdrawn is when an author decides to stop moving the proposal. There's another status called living. So this living status is for very special proposals which are expected to expect changes frequently. And they are basically some guidelines so people don't expect it to ever reach it to the final status. EIP1 is one of those proposals. In previous slide, I mentioned that the last call duration is for 14 days for all other proposals except for core. There is a slight deviation in the statuses provided to core proposals, and this is defined with a new proposal suggested by Tim Baker. It suggests that when a core proposal is being considered for network upgrade, they may have to go to different stages. Here it is defined as proposed for inclusion, considered for inclusion, scheduled for inclusion, included, and one is declined for inclusion. So proposed for inclusion means you are proposing this proposal for an upgrade. For example, for Petra upgrade, for Fusaka upgrade, for Glamsterdam upgrade, whatever you want to choose. And you move across these depending upon where they are in terms of network upgrade progress, like whether they are on DevNet, whether they are on public testnet, whether they are on mainnet. So when they are on DevNet, they would be considered for inclusion. When they are on public testnet, they would be in last call. And here the last call duration cannot be 14 days because generally there are more than one public testnet and they would like to keep it alive for at least 14 days each testnet. So it's definitely going to be longer than that. And final, when they are finally deployed on the mainnet. However, this decline for inclusion is not the end of a proposal. It may be end of a proposal for that particular upgrade, but this proposal can be considered for a following upgrade. Say, for example, a proposal which was marked for DFI in Petra can be considered for Fusaka. So that's the process that we are following in network upgrade, and this is specifically for the core EIPs. Moving ahead, this is our current status, the present status. So we have 942. Remember in the initial slide, I showed the data from previous year, and I think we are over 100 EIPs in just 3 months. So just imagine the volume we are receiving here. So this is our present dashboard. Thanks to EIP Insight team that they have provided a good visualization of how we are doing, where our EIPs stand at any point of time. If you take a look here, only 222 proposals out of 942 has reached to the final status. There are 33 in withdrawn and 233 in draft. And look at the number here for stagnant, 357. So my request to anyone who wants to suggest a proposal to Ethereum ecosystem, please do not leave the proposal in stagnant. Come talk to us, we'll help you move it. You move it to whatever status you want to. Either it has to be in the final status or withdrawn, but just don't keep hanging. Stick with us and we will help you move the proposal to the right destination. This is another visualization of the number of proposals or number of EIPs which we are receiving every month. This is a great visualization. You can check out on the link added over here. So if you see that in the beginning, there were only like, core proposals, like mostly the red, orange, and yellow line you would see here. But after 2023, there's a huge volume of ERCs joining in, like ERCs are coming up. Now, Meta is also good, but there are not so many Meta. Now, this pink is like late in 2024. May not be very clear with this diagram, but when you look at the dashboard, you would find it good. And just see this volume and just see this volume. The numbers are like so unevenly spread over there. Okay, now let's come and talk about how one can propose an EIP. So proposing an EIP is not very difficult. You just need to vet your ideas and ensure that the idea has not been already proposed. It is unique, it is helpful, and for that you should talk about it at a forum called Fellowship of Ethereum Magician. So you just share your idea in Fellowship of Ethereum Magician to collect your initial feedback, like whether it is good, even worth documenting it or not. Say, for example, you get some support and you plan to document it. Then there are so many sources available for you to document it and move along the process. So for writing this proposal, you need to follow a template that is added in EIP1, the EIP template. And following those template, you can have your input done and you can document it. I will also share the tool with you all that helps document this proposal at initial stage. If you are very new, if you don't know how to document them, then you have to make a pull request to Ethereum GitHub repository. In earlier slides, we shared that there are 3 different GitHub repositories that we are considering from different standards as on date. So whatever your proposal is, you go to that particular repository and make a pull request over there. Getting feedback is like kind of loop until it reaches to final. Sometimes even after it reaches to final, people still keep getting feedback, which is not a bad thing to happen. But yeah, getting feedback is very important for a proposal standard. So we should try to collect as much as feedback possible. This is a very good tool developed and shared with us by EIP's Insight team. So if you are documenting a proposal, you can simply go to this new EIP and write everything over here. This is already having the basic structure that is required to make a pull request, as well as it has basic bot checks. So whenever you make any PR to GitHub repository, there are 4 or 5 bots that shows up and that will start checking whether your code is good enough to be merged or not. So this is like already bot proof. So when you are documenting your proposal right here, if you're making a mistake, it will stop you. It will let you know that this is not right. You should fix it. And once it is done, you can simply download this preview, and this would be your .md file that you can upload and make it a pull request. Similarly, if you are trying to make any changes to an existing EIP, you can simply import this EIP from here. Everything will be allocated here, and then you can update whatever updates you want to make, download the code, and make the PR, making life simpler here. So that's how we document a proposal. Now let's talk about the participants of the process. I already have highlighted a few participants: authors, champions, and editors. We have this great community and we try to collect their feedback. Core developers is another set of participants which are very vital for core proposals. Other than core proposals, I think you would see core developers around, mostly around networking and interface related proposal, but they are less interacting with ERC related proposals. So that's the main participants here. Champions are one who can either be the author or who is trying to pick up a proposal which is resting in stagnant status and he wants to revive it, or he just want to move a proposal to final, just giving or volunteering his or her time to support that proposal. There is another group called EIP reviewers. We have recently launched this program to onboard reviewers to help us review these proposals and get quality standards for Ethereum ecosystem. So we'll take a look here. So, generally speaking, author is the one who documents the proposal, and reviewers are those who can add technical feedback. Editors are people who are generally involved to provide editorial feedback. They can allocate the number to the EIP. They can suggest, okay, whether it is as per the template or not, but they may or may not be adding technical feedback. However, we would want that proposals which are getting to final statuses and being considered as a standard should have good use case, implementation, and specs easier to follow. So for that, it is highly encouraged that anybody having any expertise in any category, like we have so many categories, you can be a reviewer and help us get quality document. Editor associate are people who are helping allocate the EIP number to proposals which are added to the GitHub repositories. This is again high level overview of a focus area of responsibilities of editors and reviewers. I think I had a talk earlier this January, so maybe you can follow the clip to get more about it. Okay. So now we talked about the volume of proposals. Now here we want to take a look at the job done by editors and want to share our gratitude to these people. Like they are looking at each of these pull requests every day and trying to help us sort. So this left side is for all the present editors, and this right side are from the reviewers. We had launched this program in January 2025, and since then we have received a decent number of interest to help us with the reviewers leaderboard. So I'm so very thankful to all these reviewers who have contributed. You can see 55 plus proposals in less than 3 months. So that's not bad. It's actually very, very good. Thank you all, and kudos to your hard work over here. Now, if you are considering to become an editor, if you are considering to support with our reviewing process, where would you get information? So all these information are mostly documented in this EIP editor handbook, which is again a meta proposal and is in living status. Living status because depending upon the need of the ecosystem, we will keep on updating this editor's handbook. Whatever works best for the present scenario, we'll want our editors and reviewers to be working accordingly. So the instructions will be updated here. This is just our organizational structure, decision-making process, and any other EIP editor-related odds and ends, meaning how we make decision. It should not look like this 5 or 7 people who are editors can make all the decisions. There is a process in place, and we will talk about those processes in a minute. So for general proposals, general PRs, mostly it is not difficult to say whether it can be merged or not. We can add our editorial as well as technical input saying that, okay, this is the change you would want to make in order to get this proposal merged. But there are some corner cases, and how do we deal about that? I have taken an example of one PR that we received. So when there is something which has some kind of like different divided opinion, some people want to merge it and some don't, then we take help of this process called call for input. We try to collect input from all the editors as well as for the community. This issue is created on EIP Cat Herders EIP GitHub repository. You can go ahead and find, I think at present we have 2 open issues, so you can also add your feedback over there. So there, one of the editor will open the call for input. They will add every details here, like what is the question that we want to get answered, what decision we are trying to make, what if we get support, what if we do not get support for the proposal. And this is open generally for a month. And after a month, based on the inputs collected, we make the decision and we either close or merge that PR. So it's not that these 5-6 people are making all the decisions. It is that we want to come to a rough consensus with collecting everybody's feedback, even for decision-making process over here, and then we decide whether to merge it or not. This slides talk about some of the common mistakes that an author may do in process of documenting the proposal and suggestion of some best practices that may help them document a better proposal or, even if it is an update, better PR. The first thing that everybody should do in mind if they are considering documenting a proposal, please read EIP1. EIP1 is like master document for us. It provides a good guideline of how an EIP should look like, different types and categories it is provided there, so you can figure out whatever suggestion, whatever proposal you are suggesting is belonging to which particular category. Then the spelling and grammatical error, we do receive like tons of PRs for typofix. So if you can just run Grammarly, nobody will be sending this typofix kind of PR. So it's a good idea to maybe go through that, a spell check and Grammarly kind of thing. Try to incorporate as much as community feedback possible. And people have generally been mixed up with what to add in motivation and what should be in abstract. So be clear about that. Try to keep it precise and in simple language so people can understand it. And obviously, please, 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 please do not abandon your work. Please stay here. Do not let the proposal move to the stagnant status, and it would be something good for community. You are doing it for greater good, and it will be there if you stick around for a little longer. As a best practice, you can perhaps take help of templates and tools. Those are available. Make use of Fellowship of Ethereum Magician and other discussion forums. And please work around to explore the chances of increasing adoption. Like for core proposals, those are deployed on mainnet, and there are different projects like infrastructure providers. They may be making use of those. But for application layer proposals, it's highly recommended that you go and talk to different projects who are open to implement your ERC. And that would be good because whatever you're suggesting is a standard. And for standard, we would want that implementations are there. How could you get involved? So I'm very happy for whatever work Ethereum Cat Herders have been doing in the ecosystem because I feel like we are in the center of the ecosystem. We interact with each and every individual, if not directly, maybe indirectly, but definitely in touch with the ecosystem to collect their feedback and help them, support them, get involved with whatever they want to get involved with. As on date, Ethereum Cat Herders are heavily engaged with the EIP process, and we have tried to highlight what are the activities we do around EIPs, how you can get involved. So we do have an EIP-IP meeting that happens once a month. It is on Wednesday at 1400 UTC. You can find the agenda on Ethereum/PM GitHub repository for the next meeting. We do have weekly EIP office hour. So bi-weekly, we do it for EIP plus ERC, but the alternate week, we do it for EIP only. So this office hour is a place where you can ask questions directly from editors, help push your PRs, get merged. And if there is a blocker, you can talk to editor and get it resolved. So we are trying to create an environment where we can provide as much support as possible so you can move your proposal towards the final status. We are helping onboarding with reviewers and editors to support this process and obviously get community's feedback in order to improve the present process. Yeah, I think this is a very good quote right here. Ethereum is an open source ecosystem that thrives on collective effort, and every contribution, big or small, helps improve the present network. So please contribute the way you can. We have multiple resources available for you to learn and to be able to participate. You may follow the Discord link for Ethereum Cat Herders. There we talk a lot about EIP. We do have a dedicated channel for EIP editors where you can directly post your question and get help from EIP editors. For all discussion, we encourage people to create a thread at Fellowship of Ethereum Magician. You can find the link for different standards. We have different GitHub repository. The official website is eips.ethereum.org, and you can follow the analytics at EIP Insight. Yeah, how to start contributing today. Review existing proposals, take a look at that. You can be a champion, you can be a reviewer, and you can help us. So that's all about today's presentation. And I would love to take any questions if there are any, and would highly, highly, highly encourage you people to start from wherever you can. I think the study group that we are having in WIEP can be a good landing point for you who are new to the ecosystem, and with some kind of um, hand-holding, you should be in a position to contribute to the ecosystem one day.
Thank you very much, Pooja. It was so insightful talk, yeah, and I even knew a lot of like great resources. I didn't know about them, about EIP. And ladies, if you want to contribute, feel free to tag Pooja on our Discord, on EIP Cat Herders Discord. Yeah, and you will have this recording on how to start. This is really a great topic. Thank you. Do you have any questions, ladies? Please feel free to raise your hand, ask in the chat. And while you are thinking on your questions, I wonder, are you familiar with any of EIPs or ERCs? Feel free to drop some numbers into the chat. I'm sure you know anything, at least one ERP or probably ERC. A question from Lada. Why was there such a spike in EIPs in 2024?
That's a very good question. So we had this separation of GitHub repositories in 2023 of EIP and ERC, and we tried to like have different working groups work on different proposal, different set of proposals. So I feel like the focused approach helped increase the number, which was not like very helpful to editors, but definitely helpful for the community. We received about 50 plus, yeah, in 2024 for core proposals. We did have some network upgrades planned, and so many more on the ERC side as well.
Okay, great. So our participants familiar with ERC20, this is the most popular ERC, yeah, the token standard. Okay, well, 25335, great, Glory, good job. And we also have Mercy here. She's also a participant of this cohort, and she's a reviewer, right? Reviewer. So feel free to ask her in our community channel if you have any questions on how she started. I'm sure, Mercy, you can answer some questions, our fellows. Well, any questions, ladies? Feel free to ask.
I would like to comment on ERC 2535. Thank you, Glory, for working on that. I think at the time it was one of the contentious proposals as well. Like it is an ERC, but people have divided opinion. It was really interesting to talk to Nick about this proposal. And we did record, I believe, a Peep and Eep episode on that. So that was one of the good proposals. Thank you for your contribution there.
Great, thanks. And if you are not familiar with any of them, you will have a home assignment, today's home assignment, where you have to learn one of them. So please read it carefully. Question from Lada. Do I need to know a lot about how Ethereum works to be a reviewer?
To be honest, to begin your contribution, I don't think you need to know a lot. But as a reviewer, our general ask is you should have technical expertise. It can be in a language and it can be in a domain there. So while reviewing those proposals, you can focus on the spec side of it and maybe able to support like, okay, this is the right spec and this will work. That kind of review can be added as well. However, editorial reviews are also welcome. So not too much of knowledge is required, but having knowledge is good to have.
And this is an additional motivation for you to work hard on our cohorts if you're interested. Okay.
Yeah, on a high level, you can consider it as like a standard process consists of 3 or 4 different phases. The first phase is idea phase where you document. Second is review. Third is like when you are collecting feedback from community and making sure everything is in place. And fourth is like when you are working towards getting adoption or implementation. So these are the main stages. And the process of a standardization are considered of different statuses, but that will be same for all of the type and category. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it is a difficult process, but you can learn more about it with the EIP one. happy to answer any question now or later as well, if you have more questions on standardization process.
Yeah, Pooja is in our Discord and EIP Cat Herders as well. As she mentioned, they have a special channel for EIPs, so feel free to ask. Pooja, do you have an experience of contributing into EIP? Maybe you're an author.
Actually, yes, the EIP Editor Handbook 5069, which is actually a living and meta EIP. This was basically a handbook. I mean, like the HackMD file that I used to maintain in the past. I was trying to collect information, how we can share what is required to become an editor or what is required to become a reviewer. So we put together all these information from HackMD to this proposal.
So EIPs and ERCs, they have the same reviewers for now.
We do have dedicated reviewers as well. So we have a set of EIP editors who are focused on core and networking and interface related proposals. And we do have a dedicated editor for ERC. And same goes with RIP as well. Like we have a dedicated set of editors for RIP related proposal. But I think to begin contribution, you don't have to focus on these things. Whatever your area of expertise is or your area of interest is, just start lurking around and you'll be able to make some contribution one day.
If you look through EIPs and ERCs, you will find that some of them are really technical, but some of them, you can manage them. Yeah, you can understand them, you can manage them. So feel free just to look at some of them. That will be your homework.
With no questions more, I believe that people have understood the process very well. And next time when you hear about a major upgrade, you will remember that it all started with EIP. So if you want to be part of Ethereum ecosystem, think of EIP as the first step. I look forward to getting some support from each one of you.
Yeah, actually, a lot of my friends ask, like, I have an idea, how can I start? So now I and you can share the link to this video, and will have slides as well. So how to start contributing to EIPs, right? This is a very useful session.
Thank
All
you for
right.
the opportunity.
All right. Thank you again. Thank you, Cat Herders, for supporting the ecosystem. Akash, Mercy, Pooja, everyone who's here from the team. And we'll see you on the next Thursday on the stand-up call. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you around.